Well, here we go. Today on Vintage Fisherman, I'm fixing an old Daiwa Millionaire 4HM. It's in really good shape. It's not a reel I'm going to fish with because I use left-hand bait casters, but it's a dirty reel, but it's going to clean up really nice. It's going to make somebody a nice fishing reel, catch a lot of fish on. I'll sell it at a flea market or do some trading with it or whatever. So let's take it apart, see what we got here. Take the handle off first. And we've got handle nut. It's loose. There's a snap ring there, and folks, I'm going to tell you right now, these snap rings tend to disappear. So they like to fly off into cyberspace or wherever. Let's get this thing. There's a shim underneath that to keep these things together. That shim's important. See that little shim was underneath there. Okay. Handle. And then you got a washer between the drag, star drag, and the handle. That thing's pretty grungy. This reel's been well used, but and neglected, unfortunately. But it's going to be a really nice reel when I get done with it. So you got these three takedown screws right here. They should be captured in the cover, so you don't have to worry about these coming all the way out. Don't worry about trying to take them all the way out. Just leave them in the cover. And we'll go ahead and take the spool tension adjuster out. It's basically made just like a Garcia. It is missing an O-ring right there. I'll have to source an O-ring. Probably got one at work. Alright. Looking good so far. Everything's there. The flyweights for the cast control are there. Spool's in good shape. Let's dig a little further here. Let's see, that should pop out, or maybe not. Yep, there it goes. That goes at the cap. Okay, so let's do the gearbox side first, and we'll worry about the clicker side. You'll have two screws to hold the cover over the gearbox. This is a Japanese made reel, so it's pretty old. I don't know a lot about the history of Daiwa bait casters. I know more about their spinning reels, just because I use a lot of them. Well, okay. It's stuck. Why is it stuck? Let's see if we can't unstick it. There we go. Cover comes off, and it's like I said, those three takedown screws are captured. Now, here's where we want to look at and see what she's made of. Okay. So we know how it goes back together. The two springs are pretty obvious. I'm going to take the main gear off. You got we'll keep this in order. There's a spacer, and there's a convex washer. Actually, that is a straight washer. That's a convex, concave. Depends on which way you turn it, right? Yeah, it's the same thing though. But anyway, there's another convex washer, and there's another flat washer. See how I'm keeping them in order here. This is important. Take the main gear. Underneath the main gear is a washer. This is going to be the complete drag assembly once I get it out of here. And there is the main gear, and here's the complete assembly. And those washers are the same size. Lay them out. You got an eared washer. The drag is it's not going to be super strong, but it's not the washers aren't bad, so I can probably get a Carbon-Tex washer set for this, but I'm not going to bother. Alright, next thing is the anti-reverse pawl and ratchet assembly. And you can see how that goes, how it is in relation to the teeth. We'll set that aside. There is one shim underneath there. Important to note that. And here is the bridge assembly. A little stuck. There it is. With the pinion gear. All this right here, there's nothing plastic about it. So it can all go into the parts washer, including the bushing. It's not going to hurt that. So that's going to go in a parts washer just like that. Alright, let's take the clicker side off. Actually, this one don't have a clicker, does it? Yeah, no clicker on this one, I don't guess. We'll find out, won't we? Try not to butterfly these screws, so I'm going real slow. This screwdriver is the exact right size for these screws. Usually if you're going to get into a stuck screw on bait caster, it's going to be on this side right here. We fix that on the way back together with it. So far, I see I like what I see with this reel. It's well made. It doesn't surprise me. Daiwa, the old Daiwa stuff, and I'm probably saying it wrong. That's the way I've always said it. Daiwa, whatever. Been around it all my life, but mostly the spinning stuff. Yeah, she's a little crusty, but I don't see a problem with it. There is not a clicker assembly on this, not a bait clicker. So I'm going to take this side down all the way also. The best way to do that, take two screwdrivers and slide that C-clip off of there. Hopefully it won't go flying on me. Goes. There's probably an easier way to do that. It's just the way I do it. So there's a little C-clip holding this worm drive gear on there. And there's that cover. Now, the worm drive, 2 more C-clips on that. One of them is the main one for the takedown worm drive. This guy right here. Keep your finger over top of it. It goes on right there. Before I take that out, let's take this cap off. This could be stuck. These are bad about being stuck. Got it. And getting parts for this reel, I don't know. I would assume somebody still makes them, but you're going to have there's going to be a small shim down in there. Because people lose these things all the time, and they wonder why their worm drive isn't engaging properly with the new one. See, there's a little bitty shim that went underneath that cap, and between the cap and the worm drive. Let's pull that worm drive out. This is one of a pair of needle nose pliers, comes in pretty handy. You can just get a hold of it and just pull it out. It's in good shape. It just needs a good clean. It's crusty. The whole reel's crusty. That's not a big deal though. Worm drive, good shape, just dirty. Got a little bit of slop in it, but not bad. This is a bushing on the non-gear side. This would slide out. Now, you don't have to take this piece here out, so I'm not going to. I'm gonna leave it alone. There's a shim in there. I'll leave it alone. That shim don't look right, to be honest with you. I'm not too sure if it even goes there, but we're gonna leave it alone because it was working. And so that is a complete takedown of a Daiwa Millionaire 4HM. So let's clean it up. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Everything's clean. Let's put a reel back together. Working on this Daiwa Millionaire 4HM. It was pretty crusty. I've cleaned it all up. It was a little bit of corrosion in it. I got it looking pretty good now. So the first order of business is to get the worm drive back in it. And the gear goes on this side. So this would go in here. Hang out on there like that. We'll do a little extra clean. I had to do quite a bit of cleaning on this reel off camera. The ultrasonic did pretty good, but it was in pretty bad shape. I've lubed everything, of course. I use a lot of WD-40. I use, on this particular reel, I use ballistol on this mechanism here, on the where I guess the spool release mechanism. It was really crunchy. I don't like to take all this stuff apart if I don't have to. Springs go flying, things get put back wrong. You have to redo it a couple times to get it right. So I try to keep all that together. So I had to do a little bit of hand cleaning on it, but it's looking pretty good now. It's working really slick. That's the main thing, right? So we're going to put this thing together. This has to hook under that bar and go through here like this. Okay. And you got over here on this side, this guy here slips in right there, and your gear goes in from over here. I recommend putting a little bit of oil on that. Once again, this is actually Lucas real oil, but it's in a gun oil tube. I do clean firearms also. I am not a gunsmith. I clean firearms. I do not repair. Okay, let's see here. Okay, that's in. Now over here, there is an E-clip that holds this whole thing together. Watch, these little boogers will go flying. Keep your fingers under them. See, it didn't snap in all the way. Now I believe it's in all the way. A little bit of oil there. Okay, so here's where we're at right now. I do not have the worm drive, the pawl in there. The pawl, we'll dip just a little bit of oil or grease on the back side, and you'll see why here in just a second. There is a little bitty shim. I found it easier to stick it to the pawl. My fingers are just too dang big. Put that down in there. Once you get it in, if you put a little bit of pressure against it, it'll usually find its way home. Of course, that little shim has to stay on top of that fuzz from my rags all over my screwdriver. This little guy here, let's do a little extra cleaning here. Set that down for a second. Got a lot of grunge up in it. This reel had been used for sure. Put that down top of there. Tighten it down. And I know it's hard to see this on the camera. I just can't get the right camera angle for working on reels. I don't care what you do. So it should find its way back and forth as you move the gear. And it does. So we good there. Okay, on this side, I don't normally use grease on plastic. So I'm going to put some oil on there. And then it had the snap ring on it. Once again, if these things go flying, good luck finding a replacement quickly. You won't find it local. You'll have to order it off of eBay or something. You'll pay $5 for one little clip, and that's, you know, still going to take you a week to get it. So that gear goes in there. It's spinning smooth. Anywhere a screw goes into the frame on pin, Daiwa, I don't care what brand reel it is, always put some grease so that the screws don't get corroded and stick, then break off. I do have a left-hand Daiwa I'm going to be redoing soon. It's newer than this one that I will be using. This reel here is not going to be used by me. It will be by somebody else. Alright, now to make sure our level line is working right, we can move the gear in there where the spool would be driving it and Sure enough, it's working, so we're good there. The spool has been cleaned. I'm going to get a little bit of oil on that bushing. Go ahead and drop it down in there. Also, make sure you don't lose the flyweights, which I did do. I had some in stock, thank goodness. I had a little moment there. Okay, so that assembly is done. Let's work on this. I don't put grease on the anti-reverse pawl because you want friction. So I'll leave that alone. To check that, you'll spin it and it should lock back like that. So that's good. Never hurts to put a little bit of oil down in there. Work it up and down. That's on your shaft and then your pivot. Okay. Next is the pinion. Give it a good coat of grease. No way to do this without getting the grease all over you, just the way it is. Goes in there like that. This goes in with the open side towards the main gear. A little bit of oil on that so it slides up and down those posts. Come on, give me some oil. Then our main gear assembly, we have a washer. Goes in there. Main gear. Lube it up good. I'm using pin real grease. That's what I always use. You can use super lube on some of the Shimano's and stuff. That's basically what they have in them, or something very close. Garcia, same thing. It's a clear silicone lubricant like that. But I seldom use that anymore. I've found this pin grease just does an amazing job. It's good stuff. It doesn't grease choke very easily. Put that gear on there, mesh it with the pinion. Okay, now we build the drag system. Cowls, drag grease. I put this stuff on everything, even my French fries. Just put a little dab on your washers, and what it does is it keeps the drag pliable. It'll keep it new for years. They go on. You don't put it on. You don't have to apply it to the metal washers. Just put them in. Just put it in your fingers and just rub it around. Get the excess off with your fingers and wipe that off. Put the drag washer on. You got an eared washer that goes in, and the ears go down. Gosh. Like that. Then you got one more drag washer. This outer washer is in a little bit bad shape, but we're gonna make it work anyway. I'm gonna flip it. That might help the situation out. Then you got your final washer has a step in it, but that little step up goes up. All right, there's the drag. Then you had a flat washer, concave washer. Put these opposing each other. let me pull that back out and show you what I'm talking about. When I say opposing, you want it to end up looking like a spring, like that. They need to go against each other. Like opposing magnets, I guess you say. It creates a spring tension so that you have a really good washer or drag, smooth drag. Then you got another flat washer or shim, and then you've got this spacer, and that's the complete drag system. You've got 2 springs to go on there. I forgot something. It's not a problem. Take the whole assembly bag off. There's a washer that goes down on there. We got it now. So there was a washer. Remember, there was a washer that went down on there. I forgot it. So we'll put this back on. Line the anti-reverse dog up. Crap. That wasn't good. Gotta get the anti-reverse dog back on the paw. Like that. Put it back on there. There. All right, we'll put the top back on. It's all clean, all the old oil and grease and stuff out of it. And it will go on just like this. You've got springs under there. You'll feel it snap into place. And I'm going to put a couple of dabs of grease down in that. We'll wipe off the excess after I get it together. Don't have to put killer torque on these things. A couple inch-pounds at the most. Just make sure it's all sealed down. Make sure it works. The anti-reverse is working. Wipe off the excess grease. I just smeared all over it. Now, this cap, it's supposed to have an O-ring on here, and I've got O-rings out in my shop. I don't think I've got any O-rings up here. I should have found one of those before I started on this. Not something I have to replace very often on the reel, but I've got them. But not down here. I'll put one on it later, but there's an O-ring that goes on that groove right there, and the only thing it does is retain this cap. You want the cap to have some tension so it doesn't just spin off while you're fishing with it. So I can remove the cap later and put an O-ring on it, because this is where you adjust the tension on the spool for your casting. So, all right, on to the next thing. We got the star drag. Will go on. Sometimes these can be a bit of a challenge, because what happens, you'll get down here and it'll start spinning this. So what you can do is you can take your handle and just stick it on there, spin your star drag down, keep going on down with it till it quits hitting the handle, like that. Your handle washer goes on, facing down towards the star drag. Handle goes on, then you've got little bitty shim. This is usually the point in time when you lose the very last piece. You're putting on a little C-clip, E-clip, whatever, wherever you're from, whatever you want to call it. That'll pop on there like that. Your handle nut. Make sure you don't get it cross-threaded. Make sure it threads down by hand before you start tightening it down. Usually these things line up best when one of the points of the hex is pointing towards the hole that locks the cap, the lock against that. And I usually put a little bit of grease up under there just to keep water and stuff from getting all down into that handle, into that main gear and stuff. And you got your retainer. Oil your handle good. Put some oil. You can soak those pretty good. Give them a spin. You work it in there. Let gravity take it down. Getting quieter. All right. Last, grease down in each place that the retainers go into, and then I'd put a little bit of grease on your axle. And this, let's put some oil right there where the bushing rides. Got a bushing on this reel does not have ball bearings, by the way. And this is going to go together about like that. I can already tell that tension nut I need to work on that. So I will find an O-ring this afternoon. I've got to go out to the garage and work on a car today. I'll find an O-ring out there and put in this. You don't have to tighten these down real tight. Just tight enough where they won't work loose while you're fishing with it. Let's see how it does. Drag's working. Man, I like that reel. You could probably replace those bushings with bearings. I'm sure they make a kit, or you can just size them and order the bearings. I'd put ceramics in there so it'll cast really good. Man, that's a nice reel, folks. Look at that. I like that double click you get when you know you're fully engaged. The spool seems to have a nice bit of spin to it. If you add some line on there and stuff and a lure pulling it out there, it would definitely do its job. Let's see here. Actually, with that tension knob fully adjusted, tightened, that's a little bit more play than I like, but it would work. I don't like them that loose when I'm casting them. I don't like bird's nests that much, but some guys cast them so damn loose that you can blow on the spool and it'd move. Let's clean it up good, get all that, get as much excess oil off of it as I can. Alright folks, there it is. A Daiwa 4HM Millionaire. Thanks for watching. I'm John, vintage fisherman. I'm a diesel mechanic. Been playing with fishing reels and working on them for what seems to be my whole life. I've always been intrigued with things, like take things apart and put them back together, and it's just fun for me. It's challenging. But anyway, like the video and subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to keep putting content out there. I'm not the only one that does fishing reel repairs, but everybody does it a different way, and I'm a big fan of the other guys. I watch Young Martins, I watch Second Chance Tackle, Dennis Kuntz, and you know, he kind of inspired me to, his channel has inspired me to do this myself, because I really like fixing fishing reels and giving them another shot at life, and that's what his whole thing is. He likes to fix them too. It's a hobby, and you know, between the few of us out there that are doing this still, we might save a reel or two for future generations to go out and fish with and say, hey, I caught that fish on a vintage reel, you know. And that's the cool thing about this. Can you go buy a new reel that could fish as good as this one? Yeah, they don't look as good, doesn't have the character. I'd love to hear the stories this reel could tell me about the fish it's caught in its day. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate you watching.